inflation is not necessarily under control. When inflation goes up, interest rates tend to go up. You're in credit card debt. You can't get out of it. You can't pay your bills. You can only make the minimum. And you're always looking to refinance. And your balance keeps going up. And you feel like there's no hope, but there is hope. Credit card debt is something I have seen, unfortunately, very many dentists over 42 years in practice. This is an issue that you need to address, because if you don't, it's going to be more difficult for you to retire. It is that call for action that you've been waiting for. Here's 3 financial management tools that you can use to help you to figure out where you're spending your money and where it's going.
Are you a dentist who's striving to build a more thriving, profitable practice without feeling overwhelmed by the numbers? Hey, good news, there is a better way. The Academy of Dental CPA member firms know dentistry. In fact, it's all they do. Our members are experienced CPA firms who specialize exclusively in serving dentists across every stage of ownership. From startups to acquisitions, to optimizing associate income, to advanced tax strategy, practice growth, and transitions, we're here to support your financial success. When you work with an ADCPA member, you get more than a tax preparer. You get a strategic partner, someone who understands dental industry benchmarks, overhead management, collections, dental insurance, compensation models, and all the unique business challenges you face every single day. We bring clarity to the business side of dentistry. While you focus on clinical excellence, we ensure your financial foundation remains strong with advisory that turns data into confident decisions. Join over 11,000 dentists nationwide who have a financial expert in their corner. Visit adcpa.org to find a trusted dental CPA near you. That's adcpa.org, because your numbers should work as hard as you do.
This podcast is sponsored by Bank of America Practice Solutions. When you need financing for your dental practice, you really want to work with someone who fully understands your industry. For over 25 years, Bank of America Practice Solutions has helped dentists across the nation reach their goals through smart financial solutions and expert guidance. Whether you own a practice or are just getting started, Bank of America Practice Solutions can provide customized financial help for your short-term needs and long-term aspirations. Email dg.connect@bofa.com to find expert guidance, personal attention, and real solutions. That's dg.connect@bofa.com. And hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Art of Dental Finance and Management podcast with Art Wiederman, CPA. I'm your host, Art Wiederman. Welcome to my podcast. And we are publishing this podcast on July 1 of 2026, which is exactly halfway through 2026. And there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world and in our economy. And every year, I spend 1 or 2 episodes just talking to my audience by myself, no guests, nobody I have to coordinate. It's easy. I just decide, okay, I want to record a podcast, and I'm going to record a podcast. So we're going to talk today about a couple of subjects. One of my pet peeves, if you will, is credit cards and debt. And we're going to talk about some ways that you might consider if you are having problems with credit cards, or if you have a friend, a family member, a colleague, maybe someone who you went to dental school with, are struggling with credit card debt. And credit card debt is something I have seen, unfortunately, bury many, many dentists over 42 years in practice. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Social Security. Now, I know that you're saying, okay, let's see. Art, number one, I don't have credit card debt. And number two, I'm 42 years old and I don't have to worry about Social Security. Well, you're wrong on both counts. Because if you know somebody who has problems, this is good information that I'm going to give you tonight that you can share. But unfortunately, a lot of our clients have problems. So before we get started on the topic, I want to first thank my wonderful sponsors, Bank of America Practice Solutions, the premier dental lender in the United States, the Academy of Dental CPAs, my mothership, and this is the official podcast of the Academy of Dental CPAs, and also Interview. Go to www.interview.ai and find a device that is revolutionary that will help you detect internal mobility issues in teeth below the gum line that traditional x-rays and CBCTs cannot detect. So with that said, let's start talking about what's going on in our economy. So we're in the middle of 2026, and I want to really start off talking a little bit about interest rates. Now, the Federal Reserve Board has just met in the past couple of weeks, and they have indicated that they are not going to raise or lower interest rates at this point. However, what they are indicating to the public, and it hammered the stock market one day when they came out with this, is that they believe that inflation is not necessarily under control. We are pushing over 4% inflation. And when inflation goes up, interest rates tend to go up. So the Federal Reserve's job is a very non-political job. Its job is to keep that balance between inflation and interest rates where we have a stable economy. And what they've said is that interest rates are going to be potentially going up at least one time before the end of 2026. Now, what does that mean? That means that interest rates on automobiles and potentially home mortgages and lines of credit and HELOCs and all that kind of stuff and credit cards. Now you're saying, wait a minute, credit card interest rates are already ridiculous. And yes, they are. But if the numbers go up, that the interest rates go up, credit card interest rates could very well go up. So some interesting statistics. Back when the pandemic was at its highest level, if you will, nobody was spending money. So credit card balances fell to under $900 billion. Now remember, 1,000 billion is a trillion. As of the first quarter of 2026, credit card interest rates are in excess of $1.25 trillion. They're down a little bit, but they're still at one of their highest levels ever. And that's because people have resumed normal breathing. They've resumed their lives and they are continuing to spend money, and they're actually making up for the 3 or 4 years that they didn't spend money. But what is interesting that's happening is that 13% of credit card balances in this country, so 13% of the people that have credit cards, were at least 90 days delinquent in even making any payments. Now, I never understood why interest rates were so high on credit cards when you can get a home mortgage for, right now it's about 6%, and you can get a car loan for not much different than that, maybe 7%. Depends on where you go, maybe a little lower. And why credit card interest rates were 3 times higher. And the reason is that when people defaults on credit card debt, the credit card company has no recourse because it's unsecured. So they basically take a loss. So they have made it so that interest rates are so much higher on credit cards because they have to compensate for the losses they're going to take from people who walk away from their credit cards. So, with that said, one of my missions in 42 years of being a dental CPA has been helping people to meet their personal and business financial goals, and one of which is debt and getting out of debt. And I have been a personal advocate of not having credit card debt. Now, that is not reality in the world that I live in working with dentists. Many of my clients, fortunately, do pay off their credit cards every month. In fact, about 50% of you do that. And kudos to you. You can go to the cooler and get your favorite beverage and enjoy yourself because you're doing a great job. I am one of those 50%. And I have told my audience that I would cut off my left and probably right arm before I would incur credit card debt. And one of the things I've done with my wife and I is we have 2 credit cards. Each of us have a credit card. We have a balance that is high enough that if we have an extraordinary purchase, it'll cover it. And it is automatically paid off on the 22nd of the month. And we happen to be recording on the 22nd of the month. So I got a notification from the credit card company that there were 2 automatic debits taken from my bank account, and my credit card bill is back to 0. And I have not been delinquent on a credit card. I've never been delinquent, but I have not had a credit card payment that is not the monthly balance 20 years, maybe? I don't know, 25 years, because it is just scarier than the dickens to me to have that. So let's say you are in credit card debt and you feel like you're unable to make the minimum payment every month, or you can barely make the minimum payment every month. Let's talk about some psychology of this. Number one is when you walk into a store, you know that you can put something on a credit card and you don't have to pay for it today. And that's a very powerful thing. You want some new golf clubs, you want some new luggage, you want to book a trip, you put it on the credit card. I'll worry about it later. Then the bill comes. Okay, I'll make that minimum payment. Well, that minimum payment, folks, is less than the interest you're going to pay every month. So, for example, if you have a 25% interest rate on a credit card, the average is about 23, but we'll make the numbers easy. And you have $10,000 of a balance on a credit card, that means that you're going to pay $2,500 a year. Let's make it 24%. So $2,400, $200 a month. So your payment would have to be $200 a month. I guarantee you that your minimum payment will be less than $200 a month on that $10,000 balance. And if you make the minimum payment, what does that mean? You're not even paying the interest on the debt. So that means that, let's say your minimum payment's $150, simple math, and your interest for that month is $200. That means your balance at the beginning of next month is the $10,000 you owed plus the $200, that's the interest, minus the $150 that you paid in a minimum payment. So your balance actually went up. And you say, wait a minute, I didn't charge anything else. Well, that's how it works. And it's a vicious cycle. So the first thing I want you to do is to remember my tagline that I've been talking to you about now for almost 8 years. My life is a math problem. And your personal financial situation is a math problem. We're not going to get into how to make more money in your dental practice so you'll have more money to pay down your credit cards. That's another episode for another day. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is to pull out your personal credit card statements for the last 6 months and take a look at what you're doing, how much you're spending. You can use an Excel spreadsheet, or there are 3 very good, there's more than 3, but here's 3 financial management tools that you can use to help you to figure out where you're spending your money and where it's going. One of them is called Monarch Money. I'm just going to give you the names. You can look them up, see which one you like. There's another one that's called YNAB. What does that stand for? It stands for You Need a Budget. I love that name, YNAB. And finally, Quicken Simplify, ending in an I. And Quicken and QuickBooks is a very prominent product that many of you use in your dental practices. So you might want to go out and get those. They don't cost very much. And start putting in the data. Take a look at what you pay out of your checkbook. Take a look at automatic payments that you're paying. Take a look at what you're charging. And there will be patterns on your credit card. And figure out how much are you spending per month. And where I want you to ultimately end up is at a place where that average, maybe you do a 6-month average, maybe you do a 12-month average, that average is what you're going to have as a maximum with maybe a $5,000 cushion for emergencies. So if you determine that after taxes and everything, that you're spending on your credit card $8,000 a month, get yourself a maximum payment on your credit card of $15,000, so that you know that you've got enough on that credit card so that if you have an emergency purchase you need to make that's in excess of your average, that you can have the room on the credit card to make that payment. So go ahead, figure out what your average is, use one of those programs, use an Excel spreadsheet, and figure out what that is. And I want you to have a credit card, one for you, one for your spouse, significant other, if you're combining your finances, just like my wife and I do. And I want you to have a goal of getting down to zero credit card debt and paying them off every single month. And, we live as creatures of habit. We generally spend the same amounts of money, right? So if you are spending more than you can afford to pay every month on your credit card, then there's 2 ways to fix that. Number one is to increase your income. I'll talk briefly about that. I said I wasn't going to, but I'm going to talk briefly about that. Now, the best way to increase your income in your dental practice is to grow your top line. And I've said that for years. You can save $3 on a box of gloves, and that's great. I'm all for it. But it's not going to make a dent in your credit card bill. It's not going to help you pay down your home mortgage, send your kids to college, or save for retirement. Okay? It's just not going to do it. By hiring a dental consultant, by potentially going out of network with insurance plans who are bleeding you dry, and it is getting worse and worse and worse every year. It is absolutely getting worse. The statistics are now that approximately 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 dentists, depending on what you read and what you believe, are going to go out of network with 1 or more dental plans in 2026 or 2027. Dentists are finally fed up with the fact that their costs inflate every year and their expenses go up every year, and they can't raise their fees. There is no business model, doctors, in the world that work when your costs go up 5 to 10% or more per year, and you can't raise your fees because you're locked into a contract with 1 or more insurance companies. Okay? It's just not going to happen. And then we could talk about leadership, and we could talk about, how to lead a team and how to encourage people to work harder, but we're not going to do that today. We've talked about those in other episodes. So obviously increasing your income is one way to do this. And the way you can do it is inside your dental practice. But cutting expenses is what I want to spend time talking about today. And there are things that I want you to look at. So I want you to look at 5 or 6 things that you can cut out. Because ultimately, what I'm going to want you to do, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is to use one of a couple of methods to get yourself out of credit card debt. So, first thing is figure out how much credit card debt are you in, and how long of a period of time is it reasonable for you to pay off that debt. I think, depending on the size of the debt, if it's $50,000 or less, the math would say, let's say it's $50,000. $50,000 in 1 year is $4,000 a month. That's a big ask. 2 years is about $2,000 a month. A little more, $2,166 a month. I can live with a number like that, but maybe your number is 3 years. Maybe it's $1,600 a month. So you need to find that money. So what we want you to do is we want you to look at where can we cut some expenses. Now, let's talk about just some things. You're in credit card debt. You can't get out of it. You can't pay your bills. And some of the signs of people that are in trouble are that you can only make the minimum payment and you're always looking to refinance and your balance keeps going up. And those are the signs, and you feel like there's no hope, but there is hope. So if you're in that situation, I want you to look at some of the following expenses, and you could look at them both in your practice and personally, but we're talking more personally. Number one is dining out. I don't know about you, doctors. Now, I live in Southern California, but it doesn't matter where you go. I was just in Montana, and it's a little less expensive in Montana, but we went out to a nice restaurant, and those entrees didn't look a whole lot different price-wise than they did in Southern California. And doctors, you've earned the right to go to nice restaurants. You're not going to be going to Denny's. You're not going to Chuck E. Cheese. You're not going to Chick-fil-A for dinner. You're going to a nice restaurant. And when you add in tax and tip and maybe an adult beverage, most restaurants, 2 people can't get out of there for much less than $75 to $100. Now, you can share a burger, but you're probably not going to do that. So let's say you're going out to eat and you spend $100 out to eat 3 times a week. And for my doctors that are in their 50s and 60s who have been cooking for children for their whole lives and they don't want to do that anymore, we hear that all the time. So $100 a week, a meal, 3 meals a week, that's, call it $1,200 a month. If I just say, you know what, I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to do 6 meals out a month instead of 12. 2 one week, 1 the next week. 2 one week, 1 the next week. Okay? That's going to save me $600 a month, $7,200 a year. And then I can take that money and apply it to some of these methods that I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. Okay. Number 2 is subscription services. How many of you see a show of hands? How many of you have heard of a company called Amazon? Raise your hand. I'm raising my hand if you're watching me on YouTube. Amazon Prime is a membership service. Companies in America make money on memberships. If they can get millions of people to pay $9.99 a month or $14.99 a month, that's $9 or $14 million a month. That's stupid money. So I want you to take a look at all of the memberships and subscriptions that you have. You'll find them on your credit card bill every month. And sit down, either if you're on your own or with your spouse or significant other, and look each other, if there's 2 of you, in the eye and say, do we really need this? Oh my gosh, I've been paying for this forever and I never use it. Maybe it's a gym membership. I'm a big proponent that if you haven't been to the gym in the last 6 months, cancel your gym membership. The gym is not going to call you and say, "Hey, Art, hey, this is XYZ gym. You haven't been to the gym in forever. We miss you." What they might do is call you up and say, "Hey, Art, keep we're really happy that your credit card gets debited 39.95 a month or $100 a month or whatever it is. And the fact is that you never show up at our gym. That's wonderful. Wouldn't it be great if you had patients who were paying you on a subscription? Maybe you had an in-service membership plan and they never came into the office. How cool would that be? That's 100% profit with no overhead. Well, that's what these subscription companies are getting out of you. Look at what you're subscribing to. Car payments and expenses. Do you wash your car every week? Okay. Now, I have, the record for the dirtiest car ever, and I don't wash my car every week. I probably do it once a month. Wash your car today? Depends on, you walk up to the car wash. You drive up to the car wash. Okay, well, the basic is $39.99, but you want your tires done, right? Oh, all right, we'll let's add that on for you. Next thing you know, it's $75 to wash your car. Well, maybe you wash your car every other week. That could be $75 a month that I can add to pay down my credit card debt. Entertainment and leisure. Everything is getting more expensive. Okay. Everything. Are you going out and doing things and spending money that maybe you don't have to? Think about it. Think about, we don't go to the movies a lot, but I'm back to my subscription services. And I want to, talk about, go back to the subscription services for a minute. And I want to talk about two of them, your phone service and your cable bill. So I'm not going to mention names. I'm with a company. And about a year ago, I noticed that my bill was getting out of control. Number one, I was paying for a landline that I didn't even know we had. We don't use landlines. Lynn and I don't use landlines. We use our cell phones. I don't give out my landline. I don't even know what it is. So we got rid of the landline. Okay. Then I found out that I had the oldest plan in the book and that it was so outdated. So I walked into the store. It was a storefront of this cable provider. I, in about 1 hour, cut $150 a month out of my cable bill just by sitting down and taking a look at what do I really want? Do you really watch all the subscription services that you're paying for? And I'm not going to name names, but we all know what they are. And we all know that unless you're watching TV 24 hours a day, it is impossible to watch all the TV that's out there. So take a look at that. On your phone bill, okay? Are you paying for international service that you never canceled because you went on a trip? It happened to me once a long time ago. I figured out how to get rid of that. So go into your provider, whoever they are, and say, what is my plan? Do you have a better plan? What am I paying for? And maybe you can cut $50 or $100 a month off of that. Those are two places that I have been able to personally save almost $300 a month. So you do a little bit here, a little bit there. You look at your grocery shopping. Never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. If you don't know that, you know it now. Okay. And, always sign up for the store's special card where you get discounts. I happen to shop in a large, supermarket chain in Southern California, and I happen to love smoked salmon. I grew up in Brooklyn, bagels and lox were my thing, and I have smoked salmon almost every morning with my breakfast. So at this store, I found out that if I go in and buy the large pad of smoked salmon, that in the last 3 days of the month, they always drop the price from $29.99 to $19.99. It's things like that can you spend some extra time shopping, okay? There are luxury food stores, no names, but we all know who they are, Do you need to shop there? That could save you hundreds of dollars a month if you're buying the same thing that you could be somewhere else. There is a high-end market in Southern California, and I checked, and I like strawberries. I mean, not strawberries. I like raspberries and blackberries. The organic raspberries and blackberries at the high-end store were $7.99 a box. The same exact box, exactly the same, was $4.99 at the local grocery that's not a luxury store. These are ways that you can cut your bill. It takes a little work, it takes a little effort, but if your attitude is, well, I make a lot of money and we're doing $1 million a year and I don't have to do that, well, just look at what your credit card bill is. So if I can save myself maybe $1,000 a month, and I guarantee you folks, if you make the effort to really sit down one afternoon, pick a really rainy day and go ahead and look at what you're spending. If you can't find $1,000 a month that you absolutely can't live without, okay, that you can't get rid of, call me, all right, or email me. Now, I hope I don't get a whole bunch of emails, but you can find $1,000 a month. So let's say we do that. Let's look at some methods to pay down credit card debt. And these are methods that are known and they work and they're very simple. Let's start off with number one, something called the high interest first debt avalanche method. Okay. Mathematically, it's usually the best way to pay down your debt. So you start by making the minimum payment on all your cards. Okay. Now, wait a minute. Art, you just said don't make the minimum payment. So in this method, you're going to do that. Then you take that $1,000 and you put it towards the credit card with the highest interest rate. So maybe I have card A is $25,000 at 29%. Card B is $15,000 at 22%. And card C is $10,000 at 18%. So I'm going to go for the first card A, because it's the highest interest rate. So if I have $1,000 a month that I can pay down, and I hope you have more, but if I have $1,000 a month, and maybe this is my only card, okay? Well, then maybe my plan is it's going to take me 2 years. So I've cut $1,000 a month. So you're going to make the minimum payment every month, but you're going to pay an extra $1,000 a month on that card. And now, is it going to take you the 2 years? It might take a little longer because they're going to be adding interest every month. So you got to do that calculation. But maybe it's $1,200 a month. So you go after the highest credit card. Once you get that paid off, you have the second credit card, you pay that down. And again, it's a matter of just figuring out how much can you afford to throw at these credit cards, right? How much? Maybe what you look at doing, and I'm digressing for a minute, but maybe what you look at doing is taking out a business, if you have business credit cards and some business debt, put a payment out over 10 years and refinance that, which might save you $3,000 or $4,000 a month in your debt payments that you can take out of your practice and go towards putting to your personal credit card debt. Number two is the smallest balance first, or the debt snowball method. So what we want you to do on this one is to pay the minimum payment again on all your cards, but focus your extra payment on the smallest balance. Now, psychologically, that is going to help you. You get a quick win, gives you momentum, and then we go to the next size balance and the next size balance until they're all done. Remembering, doctors, that you're going to continue to live your life and you're going to say, this is my credit card. I'm going to spend $8,000 a month. I'm not going to go over that, and I'm going to have it paid off as an automatic debit from my credit card every month. So I'm going to be current, because if you start doing all this, but you run credit card debt up on the other side, that's not going to help you. We can also look at some balance transfer strategies, and you have to look at these credit cards and you have to see many of them are going to offer you 0% interest, 12 to 21 months. They might charge you 3 to 5% of the debt on it. But again, if you have 0% interest and you pay that $1,000 down, then $1,000 is going against the debt, but you have to be careful to read the fine print. You know, and save you thousands of dollars if we can pay this debt off over time. And again, in your practice, take a look at a debt consolidation loan or a home equity line of credit. Now, the interest on home equity lines of credit used to be tax deductible if you're using it to pay off personal debt or what have you. That's no longer the case, but you can get a much lower interest rate on a debt consolidation loan. If you have a lot of credit card debt and your home mortgage interest is at 4 or 5%, maybe doing a refi, even if it's a little higher, but taking out a bunch of credit cards if you have equity in your house might make sense. Sit down with your financial planner, with your hopefully member of the Academy of Dental CPAs, who's going to help you with all of this. So I want you to be thinking about these, the home equity line of credit and potentially refinancing your debt in your practice to pull more money out. It means that you need to sit down with your financial advisor, take a look at where you're at. If you are only making minimum payments on your credit cards, that means you're probably not funding money for your children's college education. That means you're probably not funding your retirement. And again, I will tell you, doctors, I became obsessive about funding for retirement. I sat through a number of meetings with doctors who looked at me and they almost all said the same thing. I'm never going to be able to retire, am I, Albert? And I go, well, you can, but are you willing to put in the work? If you're overweight, are you willing to put in the work to change your eating habits? Are you willing to put in the work to exercise? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to make a lifestyle change, doctor, that will allow you to get out of debt and to meet your personal financial goals? This episode is brought to you by Bank of America Practice Solutions. If you are thinking about starting or growing your dental practice, we would love to help you take the next step. Email us at dg.connect@bofa.com, and we will send you a free business plan template that is perfect for starting the conversation about your future practice. Bank of America Practice Solutions has the expertise, the resources, and the support for your success. Don't wait. Email dg.connect@bofa.com today. Hey, it's Art Wiederman here. I don't recommend products lightly. I only share solutions that can genuinely impact your practice's clinical outcomes and bottom line. That's why I really want to tell you about Interview. They've developed an FDA-cleared technology that measures internal tooth mobility, something that traditional methods just can't detect early enough. Here's what that means for your practice. You can identify cracks and loose restorations before they become emergencies. That means better treatment planning, fewer surprises for your patients, and more predictable case acceptance. Interview integrates right into your existing workflow. No complicated processes, just clever diagnostic information when you need it. If you've been looking for a way to elevate your diagnostic capabilities and strengthen patient trust, book a demo at interview.ai. That's INNERVIEW.ai. Mention my name and you'll get $250 off. That's Interview AI. INNERVIEW.ai. I'm going to challenge you right now. The thousands of people that listen to this podcast, I'm challenging all of you. Are you willing to make tomorrow the first day of the rest of your life? Are you willing to change your financial spending habits? Are you willing to invest money in your practice to grow your top line, to give you the money to pay this debt off? Are you willing to sell the expensive car that you have and drive a car that costs half of what your other car costs? I've told you guys who've listened to me, and for those of you who have not listened to me, I'll tell you now. I have owned 5 cars in my entire life since I'm 20 years old. I'm on my 5th car. I buy a very nice car. I never buy it new. So, for example, the car I purchased is a high-end car because I've earned the right to drive a high-end car, as have you. But I was able to buy that car for less than 45% of what it would have cost new. And it was a low mileage car. And I bought a warranty, and that's what I did. And I saved thousands of dollars on payment. Okay. We're not going to get into should you buy or should you lease. Okay. So, are you willing, doctors, to take the time to take a look at where you're at and to really understand why, to do a physical on your finances? And again, a good financial planner, your CPA, your dental CPA, your ADCPA member can help you with that and sit down and say, I am in trouble. And by the way, the one main reason that I have found over the years that my clients don't engage me as much to do this that I'm more than capable of doing is this: they're ashamed. They're ashamed that they are in so much debt. Many times their spouses don't know it. Their kids don't know it because they live this lifestyle and it's living on credit cards. So this is an issue that you need to address, because if you don't, it's going to be more difficult for you to retire. It's going to become more difficult for you to make the payments. And somewhere down the road, if you're not able to work anymore, you become disabled, or you want to retire and you have this debt, you're not going to be able to file bankruptcy. You have a dental practice that's worth $1 million. You have a house with $1 million of equity. You can't do that. Okay. And I've talked to many doctors with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 of credit card debt. And I've looked them in the eye and I've said, are you willing to put in the work and make the changes that you need to do and go through some of these methods? Okay. I mean, I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. I listen to some of the things and some of the people that call up and some of the things I hear. And I look at him on the YouTube and I just see, and he's looking into the TV monitor and just saying, are you serious? Did you really run up that amount of debt? It's like he can't believe it. So I believe it because we all want nice things. We want our kids to have better, and we want to take care of our families, but we want to have fiscal responsibility. Get yourself out of credit card debt. Figure out how much you have. Look at one of these methods. Sit down with your financial advisor. What can we cut? Well, we can't really cut anything. I don't believe you, but okay. Then what can we do to increase our income? Does our spouse go out and get a part-time job doing something that he or she really likes? Maybe that's something that we do. I don't know, but it is a math problem. So with that said, I hope that this is a call to action to get out of debt. And by the way, there's one more thing to think about. If you have a loan, maybe you bought your practice 8 or 9 years ago, okay? You are going to pay this practice off in a year. It's $7,000 a month. Don't take that $7,000 a month and spend it on a new car or vacations or trips or whatever. Sit down with your financial advisor. I want you to take part of it and use it to fund for your retirement. I want you to take part of it and fund for your kids' college education. I want you to set up a plan to have your house paid for by the time you're ready to retire. If you're 40 and you're in the house that you're going to stay in, I want you to take the next 20 years and figure out what is the monthly payment at the current interest rate that I need to make to have this house free and clear when I'm 60 years old. Okay. So if you're paying off a debt and you have credit card debt, I want you to sit down and figure out out of that $7,000, maybe for a year or two, I need to spend $3,000 of it getting out of credit card debt because that's really expensive. money. Okay. Now, I've had the same credit card with the same bank for over 25 years. And not once have they called me up and said, we're canceling your card because you paid off every month. Okay. They're not going to do that. They actually did call me and then said to me, hey, Art, you know, if you want to spend a bunch of extra money, we're going to give you an introductory rate on a credit card at 9.99%. And I said to the gentleman, I laughed. I said, so do you get paid commission on this? I hope not. I hope they're paying you a fixed salary because there's going to be a lot of people, hopefully like me, who aren't going to go for this because I don't have any credit card. But Mr. Wiederman, I swear this is what the guy said, Mr. Wiederman, you could take the trip of your dreams. And I said, well, I don't need a credit card to take the trip of my dreams. I can just take the trip of my dreams. And I'm not bragging, folks. Okay. So there are people who are going to try and get you to go into credit card debt. Because the credit card companies make money not by me. I'm a loser for them. They make money by you making that minimum payment every month. So I want you to think about that long and hard. I hope this information has been helpful. Again, I'm not going to solve your problem on a podcast. What I'm going to do is bring a call to action to you, to take action, to get serious before you start spiraling out of control. You can live a very, very nice life if you're making $300,000, $400,000 a year after taxes. You can live a very nice life in a very nice house and drive a nice car. Will it be, you know, a Maserati or a Lamborghini? Maybe not. I've been a passenger in those cars and my blood pressure went to 250. Now, if you're a car person, you might get mad at me, but you know, read The Millionaire Next Door. That's all I can tell you. It's my Bible, you know. The Millionaire Next Door, if you don't know what it is a book about the fact that you're living on with the fancy car and the fancy house, and you've got somebody who's driving a $30,000 car, and they're the millionaire next door because they're saving all of their money. Okay. So, with that said, let's switch gears for a moment and let's talk about Social Security. Now, again, if you're 30, 35 years old, please listen because you have parents, you have aunts and uncles, and this conversation is going to come up. So, Social Security was created by President Roosevelt during the Depression in the 30s. And it was intended, it's always been called SSI, supplemental plan. Okay. And it was never intended to be people's full retirement. It was always intended to be a supplement to your retirement. And when it started in I believe it was 1935, when it started, there were 10 people paying into the system for every one person taking money out of the system. And so obviously, the system developed a surplus. And this was over many, many, many years. And as time went on, people started to get older. We started moving into the baby boomer era as we fast forward many years. And I am a baby boomer. I will be 67 years old in August of 2026. I are a baby boomer. And we've got a lot of baby boomers who are all claiming their Social Security. Okay. So right now, I believe that the statistic is that for every, I said every, person taking money out, it was 10 people paying in. Now I believe it's pretty darn close to a 1-to-1 ratio, depending on who you talk to. So what does that mean? That means that with the baby boomers taking the money out of Social Security, that the surplus that Social Security has had for many, many years is now scheduled to disappear in 2032. That is about 6 years from now. So there are people on Capitol Hill, okay, who have, including our Speaker of the House, has been speaking out and saying, we need to address Social Security and we need to do it now. Because here's what's going to happen, folks. In 6 years, if nothing is done, what's going to happen is that your Social Security that you're getting right now, for those of you who are of Social Security age, and I will be getting my first Social Security check in about 3 weeks. Okay. Your Social Security check will be cut by 22% in 2032. Where did I come up with that number? That is a mathematical certainty. Because right now, approximately 78% of Social Security benefits that are being paid are covered by current payroll taxes. And the other 22% is covered by the Social Security Trust Fund surplus that has been built up over decades. That money is about to run out. Now, what you're hearing, okay, on Capitol Hill is you're hearing people saying we need to address this, including our Speaker of the House. Okay. And what the other politicians are saying is no, 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 that's a political time bomb. We can't talk about that. 74% of the federal budget is entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. 74%, folks. It's outrageous. But politicians, and you know me by listening to me for almost 8 years, I don't talk politics, but I will for a moment. Politicians on both sides of the aisle are unwilling to do things that are unpopular and that will cost them votes in November. And this is very unpopular. President Bush, back in 2008, 2009, tried to make some changes to privatize Social Security. And he and his party got absolutely obliterated in the next election. Well, right now we have a Republican majority in the House and the Senate with a razor thin majority. However, you know, Speaker of the House Johnson is very, very adamant that he wants to talk about this. And there are other people that are doing it too. So, what are their options? Okay. Number one option is to raise the payroll tax rate. They haven't raised it. Because remember that when you take a salary from your dental corporation or you pay in as a sole proprietor or a partner, it's 7.65% that you as the employee pay, of which 6.2% is the Social Security part and 1.45% is the Medicare. So they could raise that rate. They have not raised that rate in, let's see, how many years? Forever. As long as I've been an accountant, and that goes back to the 1970s. It's always, to my knowledge, been that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but 30, 40 years, they haven't touched it. Okay. So they could raise the rate. There is a maximum amount of wages that you are allowed to be charged that Social Security Act. Right now, it's in the neighborhood of, I believe it's 170,000-ish. I don't have the number at the tip of my tongue. Okay. They've been raising that every year. They could raise that significantly. There has been talk about raising that to a point where the first $400,000 of wages are going to be taxable on Social Security. Then over that amount to another amount is going to be not taxable. And then maybe after $600,000, and there have been different proposals floating around, that 100% of income is going to be taxable. Okay. So they can raise the Social Security limit. The Medicare limit is unlimited. If you make $10 million in salary, you're paying 1.45% in Medicare tax. Social Security, it's only up to 171,000. Second thing, before I get to the big thing, I'm a big sports guy. I'm a big Scott Van Pelt Sports Center. I think that guy is the bomb. I think he's just so cool to listen to. He always talks about one big thing every night. Well, I'll give you my one big thing at the end here. What they can do is they can raise the limits. Okay. They can also say, if your income is over X, you don't get your Social Security. And that's easy enough to check on a tax return. That to me is criminal. You already pay tax on 85% of your Social Security, which I think is criminal. But they could say, okay, if your income is over $200,000 a year, we understand that you've paid into the system maximum every year for the last 45 years, but now we don't have any money because we really didn't manage this very well. So guess what, doctor? You're making over $200,000 a year. You're over 65. You're pulling money out of retirement because you did what Wiederman said to save money. And now you don't get your Social Security. Or maybe you get half of it. Or maybe you get 3/4 of it. Who knows? Okay. So here's my, as Scott Van Pelt says, one big thing. Okay. I deepened my voice there if you hadn't noticed. And here's what they're going to do. And this is what I really think they're going to do is you're going to raise the retirement age again. So here's the deal. You can start taking your Social Security when you're 62. If you make more than about $35,000 a year, you'd have to give it all back. So if you're still working, realistically, you can't. So I'll be 67. So my full retirement date was about a week ago, June 14th, 2026, 66 years, 10 months. Okay. When you hit your full retirement date, you can make as much money as you want and they will pay you your Social Security. But listening to this podcast, you might be sitting here in the car with your spouse or your friend or whomever. You say, well, wait a minute, Art, don't you know that if you don't take your Social Security until you're 70, that your amount grows 8% a year? Did you know that, Art? Yeah, Art knew that. Art's known that for a long, long time. But here's the deal. I do not trust this government that is $39 trillion in debt, that has a Social Security trust fund that is going to run out in 2032, in 6 years. I do not trust these people to do anything that's going to help me or anybody listening to this podcast who's a high income earner. So what I think they're going to do is they're going to raise the Social Security age. And I think it could go as high as 70. All right. So if they do that, they're not going to affect, theoretically, anybody who's already claimed their Social Security. So if Art thinks about it and says, gee, 8% a year, and I wait 2 or 3 years, and we get a Congress that gets a bug up their you know what about fixing this problem, Art could not be able to claim his Social Security, or maybe not claim it for a couple of years. So my advice to my clients has always been that, number one, I don't trust the government. Number two, I think they're going to raise your date of retirement. I am recommending that all of you, especially now with what's going to happen in the next 4, 5, 6 years, if you're coming to your full retirement age, take your Social Security. Okay. And I hope that someday I get an email or a text message from a doctor somewhere that's listening to this podcast who says, Art, I listened to you and I took my Social Security at 66 years, 10 months, or 67 years, 1 month, or whatever your retirement age. And I took it now because I believe that you're right. And whatever they did, Art, you saved me from losing 3 years of my Social Security at $4,000 a month. I guarantee you that's going to happen. Okay. Now, if you have total faith that everything's going to work out and you believe that you have a longevity to keep going until you're 70 and then take your Social Security, then power to you. You're going to get more money. I did the math for myself. Okay. My Social Security is going to be right at about $4,000 a month. and it would be about $5,100 a month if I waited till age 70. And you know what? The payback is about 14 years, folks. In other words, if you wait from age 66 years, 10 months to age 70, it's going to take you at 14 years, not counting the time value of money, to pay that back. In other words, you're giving up $50,000 a year. You're going to get an extra 1,000 a month. Okay. So for, $150,000 for an extra 1,000 a month, that's about 12, 13 years, give or take. So that means you got to live to be 84, get that money back. And you know what, folks? I got a lot better stuff to do with that money than the government does, because 74% of it's going towards entitlement programs. And I don't see that changing soon, because anytime they've tried to do that, the American public is not happy about it. So my recommendation to you is watch what Congress is doing, watch what's going on with Social Security. And if you are coming to age, or you have parents that are coming to age and they don't know what to do, I would take your Social Security as soon as you can. Okay. And here's the cool thing about it. If both spouses take their Social Security, okay, so say one is the dentist who's going to get that $4,000 a month, and the other one is a spouse who maybe worked in the practice, or maybe worked as doing something else, and maybe their Social Security is like 1,500 a month or 1,200 a month. When the higher earning spouse takes their Social Security, the lower earning spouse is going to get a bonus that is paid to bring their Social Security up to half of the higher earnings spouse. Simple example. So you have Art and Lynn. Let's make those two names up. It happened to be me and my wife. So Art's getting $4,000 a month, but Lynn's Social Security, when she retires, and we're about the same age, is about $1,200 a month. Well, when we go ahead and file, I am going to get my 4,000. And if we do this right, I got on the phone with Social Security and we bumped Mrs. Wiederman's Social Security up to half of mine. So she got an extra, I don't remember what it was, $500 or $600 a month, just by doing it that way. So you can increase your Social Security earnings, but you gotta contact Social Security. You gotta get on the phone with them. They'll send you through a series of questions, and that could be hundreds, maybe $1,000 a month that you can get. But watch what's going on with Social Security. So, wow, I just love doing this. This is just so much fun for me. I feel like I'm hopefully helping people. If one of you out there, if one of you just listens to this, and it is that call for action that you've been waiting for, it's that call that says, I am ready to make a change in my life so that I can have a better financial future. I can retire. I can take that whole family somewhere down the road to Disney World in Orlando. I don't get paid a promotional fee from the Walt Disney Company. I just thought of that. Okay. Or to Pinehurst, North Carolina to play golf, wherever it is. And I don't have to worry about writing that check. You got to get out of debt. You got to have a plan to get out of debt. You've got to control your spending and live within your means. And if you want to live better, then bring in a consultant. Be real with the consultant. Be real with your team. Make changes in your practice. Make changes in your personal spending. And it will absolutely benefit you. So, with that, I want to again thank all of you for the honor and privilege of your time, and for listening to this podcast, and for all the kind emails I get, and for all the kind people who come up to me when I do my different lectures. This year I was in Chicago, and I was in Las Vegas, and at the AGD meeting, and at the CDA meeting in Anaheim, and the different study clubs I do. And they come up to me and say, we've heard your podcast. You're doing a great job. Please keep doing it. Okay. The Academy of Dental CPAs is 100% behind me. If you're not working with a dental CPA, folks, you need to be working with a dental CPA. and talk to your Bank of America. There are other sponsor, Bank of America Practice Solutions. Talk to them about, do you want to do some sort of a debt consolidation loan in your practice? They have ways they can do that for you. They want to help the dental profession. So again, I want to thank my sponsors, Bank of America Practice Solutions, the Academy of Dental CPAs, and Interview. Look at www.interview.ai for this incredible device that I think will change your practice. And with that, we are done for this podcast. We got a lot of great podcasts coming up in the coming weeks and months. Actually, the next podcast that will be published in the middle of July. I'm excited about that. It's going to be very time sensitive. We're going to record it on July 9th and we're going to publish it on July 15th as my dear friend, Joe Kalinowski, who's a member of the Academy of Dental CPAs. And we're going to be talking about the investment markets. And Joe is an incredible resource for all of us to talk about what's going on in the investment markets. So with that said, that is it for this episode of the Art of Dental Finance and Management podcast with Art Wiederman CPA. God bless all of you. I hope you take this as a call to action today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.